Amy, would you do our minutes for us since Ms. Jones is no longer in attendance, or not in attendance, I should say? I'd appreciate that greatly. I think we have everyone here except her and Mayor. Are we missing anyone else? Mayor Walsh. Mayor's online. He's online. Okay. Just Linda Johnson, she's not here. No. Is that Mr. Walsh? That's the mayor. That's the mayor. That's the mayor.
Is it in a vehicle? Looks like.
No. He looks funny.
He looks stoned.
He must be on vacation.
He's grinning. He heard
like
that.
Somebody on vacation or something.
Let's just come back to this picture now if we're gonna talk about it.
Looks like Mr. Walsh is with us. Yeah. All right. First order of business is to review the minutes from March 15th. Do you see any corrections, additions, or deletions? Anybody see a problem with the minutes as presented?
So moved.
Have a motion to approve by Mr. Ford, and a second by Mr. Clarity. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It is done. All right. Next. On our agenda tonight, we have 3 items that came over from the school board. After we had sent this preliminary agenda out, we'd like to go ahead and add them tonight. You should have received them today by email, plus there are some copies of them here, 3 amendments. Everybody get those? Without objection, I would like to go ahead and add those to tonight's agenda. Seeing none, we'll do that. Okay. First, we'll go over our county trustee report for the month. First sheet, pretty colored sheet, is our trial balances. It gives our actual dollars in the bank, I guess you'd say, the actual cash balances. Does not reflect fund balances, just gives you some idea of where these various bank accounts are standing at this point in time. Any questions on any of them? They look in line with previous months, and for this time of year, saw nothing that looked out of the ordinary that I could find. If anybody has any questions, please let us know. See nothing? We'll move on. Look at the 101 fund, the summary financial statements for quarter ending in March. This will be the 9th month, where we'll be at 75% of our monthly anticipated revenues and expenditures. As you can see, 4110 or county property taxes have come in very well. I know that we had concerns about how they would be affected by COVID. It looks like we're running right at about 105% of budget. The reason for that is because the comptroller's office wants us to under budget our revenue accounts. So that's real good. And if you look through all the others, everything is about in line with what was budgeted. There's still some funds to come in. One thing of note, if you look at 4210, our local option sales tax, you will see that we are quite a bit over budget for it. I think total this last month was about $20,000 over what we had the same month last year. this year versus last year, same time, we're at about an excess of 188,000 over what we had the previous year. So our sales tax revenues are holding up very, very well, even with COVID. And I think that's attributed mainly to the internet sales, being able to collect sales tax on the internet sales. So that is helping us quite a bit with our cash flow situation, in that those revenues come in monthly. You go on down through there, I didn't see anything of note. Amy, was there anything in revenues that you wanted to point out to us that was anomalous?
No, I didn't find any anomalies or concerns.
Any questions about any of those line items? If you get over on page 3, we'll get into new line item that's just now showing up, 46,855, highlighted in pink, is our shared portion of the sports gaming, that privilege tax. And the yellow is the monies that we receive from local government support funding, the CARES Act funding, and the 10 Cams funding, so that you have some idea of what those revenues are and where they came into our budget. Right now, total revenues that were budgeted, we should have had $6,040,801. We're at $6,053,396, or 100.2% of our budget, with 3 months remaining to go on revenues coming in. So we're in a really good financial situation with cash. Any questions on revenues? See none, we'll move into the expenditure side of things. There again, if you go down the line, I think you're going to see that everything just about, except for things that we tend to spend one time a year, that have already been spent, are well under that 75% figure. I didn't see anything that just jumped out at us of the public health and welfare, that 100% is paid one time a year. That's why that's one of those type things. Same thing with soil conservation, some of them, that's why they're at 100%. There won't be any other draws against them going forward. Overall, our total expenditures were 63.4%. What we're looking at there again is 75%, so doing very well on the expenditure side of things.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
county attorney, is he turning all his in or whatever, because he's not getting,
He works for the chief.
evidently. But he's not got half of what he's budgeted for.
Are we behind in billing to you, Brandon, or?
We're on the mark. You know, a lot of things that I do comes through that you're not gonna get billed for, comes through the clerk and master's office that's not reflected in that, so. But it just depends on the volume of litigation too, because you remember last year, the courts were shut down, so we didn't have a whole lot. But, I was in court today for about 3.5 hours over one of our notable residents, along with some other zoning issues that Mr. Edwards and I had to take care of because we had a backlog. So we had about 10 or 12 cases today, so.
You want to run anything?
I'm not asking for one.
That was a good question. Thank you,
I
Frank.
mean, just looking at it,
Yeah, Mr. Ford.
On your county medical, how much of that did we get reimbursed for, Amy? I'm sure a lot of that was from Core Civic, was it? 54,610.
So to go back to your revenues, 44,180 is what we received from Trustee Turner.
Okay. And on the next page, 58,900 miscellaneous, basically what all does that entail?
That is, that includes the contributions to nonprofits. See, so that's gonna be, that's your Chamber of Commerce plus $5,000 that changes to economic development.
That includes the hats, the
Hats is under 55,900.
So we don't really have a line item for them anymore, just put it under miscellaneous?
That's work, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
work.
Comptroller's office denotes these various account categories, and there's always some small things that maybe are once a year type things that they'll let you put into a miscellaneous. Typically, if it's something that you're drawing on more than 1 or 2 times a year, they're going to want a separate line. Any other questions on the 101 general fund? Move on into the urban services. As you can well see, property tax, sales tax, everything is where it needs to be or above where we thought it would be. And revenues, we're already at 80% of our revenues come in instead of 75%. So we're quite a bit ahead on the revenues in the 111 fund. Expenditures, about where they need to be, they're at 68%. The only thing that is probably showing more than you would think would be the streetscape, highway, street capital projects. There again, we're trying to bring that to an end, but that's pretty big chunk of money coming out of those funds. Any questions on it? Don't be bashful if you got a question. Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move into the 116 solid waste sanitation. Same thing, revenue is up and over, expenditures are below anticipated. Any questions on 116? Seeing none, hearing none, we'll move into the ambulance service. 118, same thing, revenues are 80%. Expenditures right at 72%. Not much to say about it. Any questions on it? Core Civic is pass-through account. And the county drug fund, there again, that's one that we don't have much to do with. Comes in, it goes out, we have very little discretion over it. 131 highway fund, it's a little bit under on their revenue side, which is typical. There's a 1 month lag between getting the funds in from the state for that past month. That's what causes that problem every month. Expenditures is way under. Talked to Katie today. She said that they didn't anticipate a lot of year-end cleanup on budget amendments and thought they would be in good shape on their budget year-end. $141, general purpose school fund. There again, anticipated revenues are over, Their expenditures are under, so a lot better shape in actual dollars with the school fund than what was budgeted to begin with. Any questions on it at this point?
Is the middle school roof completed?
Yes, it's been completed. Clint, y'all were holding some money for them to do the landscaping. It looked like some of that had been done. Did they get through with all of that?
It is, we just wait for the, final pay application, we've released everything.
You haven't went by and looked at it. It really looks nice. The work that was done really set the building off. It made the building look a lot better, I think, and I think they did an excellent job. I'm so glad that we were able to go ahead and do the gym roof. I think that really made a big difference in the whole project. Any other questions on 141? Okay, move into 151 debt service. Amy, anything there you need to tell us about or explain?
We have that.
We have debt. Very little, but we have debt.
I did add an interest rate history down at the bottom, in case you wanted to see how the rates were falling this year.
Thank you. That's good information. Education debt service, you can see wheel tax there again, a little bit under budgeted. We tend to pick up a great deal in the last quarter. More people tend to buy cars evidently in the spring and early summer than they do during the winter months. So I'm sure that, I feel confident that the wheel tax will come on up and come in as anticipated. Yes.
When does that sunset?
Right.
Tax.
What, I'm sorry,
When does it sunset? The wheel tax?
May of next year, is that correct?
May the 5th?
Yeah, May of next year.
When do we got to start with that, when we get the wheel tax to continue, we do that route?
Well, I think that we can do it two ways. We can either do it by resolution ourselves, or we can put it to the voters on a referendum. Right now, there's no, until we have a specific project in mind, which I think the big gorilla that we're looking at is the jail. Until we have some firmer figures on it, we won't know how much we're gonna need.
Would it be a special election or? If it was referendum.
It would probably, if it was a referendum, we'd try to put it on with a regular election. It could be a special referendum, I believe.
What would the regular election be?
The next one that I know of is August of next year, I believe, 22.
So we year tag for something by May when it sunset, we got time to get it on next year's general election then for.
Yes, I think that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think right now I think probably everybody in this room understands that we're gonna be building a jail, that we're gonna have to build a jail. The question is where, how big, for it to last how long, and what services are we gonna pull into that building? There is a committee that's put together that's looking at this to try to give us answers to those questions. I think once we have the answers to those questions, then we can look at how long we want it to last, and then we'll know what type of property and how big a piece of property we're going to be looking at. Once we have those answers, we'll know better how much money we're going to need to fund this project and where and how the options of trying to fund it. That is one option. There are others, but that's probably going to be the biggest lion's share of those monies will come from that.
Well, based on what the sales tax did, we put it for the public, it stands a good chance of not passing.
Okay. I think we all.
And I've
realize.
talked to a lot of people, and everybody I've talked to said we need to keep it.
Yeah. I
Some of them-
understand, but we can't keep it, we can renew it with another one for another purpose. This one has to sunset, will sunset, we can supplant it with something new, but a $40 wheel tax is not gonna build you a $15 million, $18 million jail. So, you know, I just don't know what those figures are gonna be, till we know. If you started on a jail today, it'd be 2 years before you'd be in it. So,
$40 didn't pay for a $9 million school.
not entirely, no.
That's right.
It certainly helps. But, anyway, I think that's kind of where we're at with it until that committee, gets us some options and direction, then we'll tackle that in the days ahead, and it'll be fun. That answer your question?
Yes, my point was that you start looking at it now more seriously, because a year is not that long now.
No, you're absolutely right, and that's why we've been pushing for this committee to get formed and started on doing their work. I know that Mr. Wall and some of his associates have come in, they're doing an analysis of the community in our court systems, trying to see what they think the demand is going to be 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. That's the figures that, you know, they're trying to crunch the data to give us some ideas, and it's in the works now. I mean, it's not sitting on the shelf, it's in the mill, and I think that's the best we can do at this point. Let's see, cool. Debt service, March 20 to March 21. A lot of times we get asked how are we standing versus last year. Amy, thank you for putting this little chart in here. Gives us an idea of how we were doing with revenues and expenses and property tax and the questions that we normally have. At a glance, it'll give you some idea of where we're at versus where we were. And I think at just about every level there, you will see that we're in good shape compared to where we were. Any question about that page? I appreciate having that information. I think that would conclude the trustees' report and financial summaries. Are there any further questions about the financial summaries? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the report.
So moved.
Mr. Harris makes the motion, Mr. Ford makes the second to approve the report. All in favor, please say aye. Thank you. Next, we'll move into our budget amendments. We've got several budget amendments. This time of year, typically, we do have quite a few. Time to start juggling some funds around from one category to another. A lot of annual year-end expenditures will start coming in. First one we have for your consideration tonight is, let me get turned over here. BA 101-28. This is for the senior center. This is some CARES Act funding, debit, credit, money that's in the CARES Act funding for the senior center. And this is where they're wanting to spend it and how they want to spend it. This is a grant that was administered by GNRC, and this is specifically for senior center. Is that correct, Amy?
Yes.
This was $5,250. Any questions on it?
Do you know what they're spending it on?
Groceries for elements.
That's part of what the grant was to be used for, and that's the way they're using it. Any other questions? Next is BA 101-29. This is a request made to amend the 101 County General Budget. This is out of the CAM's funding. This is going to the Sheriff's Department, site development. This is to fund and install a new roof on the Sheriff's Patrol Station at Broadway. And this came in at $28,300. We can use the CAM's funding for this expenditure.
Do you know who has the bid?
So,
Do you know who got the bid?
roof fix,
You know where they're from, or what?
roof fix is out of Carthage, out of Smith County. They do a lot of commercial type roof, whether it's that type roofing. That's what this is. It's not a shingle roof. That correct, Sheriff?
That's correct. Like, I don't even think they do homes anymore. I think they want strictly commercial.
They're strictly commercial.
Yeah.
The roof we got on there right now is a 15-year roof, and we're on the 23rd year right now. It's not leaking, but I had it inspected, I think they need one. And we either put it in the budget or do a budget in it, it's money on the carry back pay for it, so that's what we're doing.
I think that roof was put on when we remodeled that building, and that was done.
They said we just sell it to well, on a spiral type roof. It's got a lot of good range to it. Old fire department roof was 27 years ago.
Oh, okay,
Same
that,
time, the roof put on the same time, that shows the difference in the roof.
any questions? Any more questions? Okay. Next is BA 101-30. This is, also CAM's funding. This is for data processing equipment for new computers, in the Sheriff's Department. It's always been recommended that the computers be changed out because of, cost of trying to fix and not being able to get parts and things at least every 5 years. I think y'all were, most of these are 7 to 10 years.
We on ourselves, we just finished up 7 years, we restarted 8 years. We recommend 21%.
So this is one of those things that we've been anticipating, and we've tried to kick this can down the road as far as we could. We're fortunate that we have these funds available to be able to take care of this need. That's what that's for, what will be used for. Any questions on it? Okay. BA 101-31. This is Sheriff SRO. We've had some things come up in SRO funding and how it is to be funded and used through the state legislature. Brandon, I may let you touch on this. You're probably more familiar and look at this more than I have, if you don't mind trying to explain it a bit. Basically, instead of the schools putting part of it in, it all has to come in under the Sheriff's Department. Is that correct?
There's some case law and Attorney General's opinions that I provided the county mayor at that point, is what that's about. So that's, we had some discussions along those lines about funding of it.
Any questions? Know this body a few years ago voted that we wanted SRO officers in all the schools, and we had entered into a memorandum of understanding between the schools and the Sheriff's Department. And this is so that these people are employed by the sheriff, they're under his charge.
When MOU is not with the county commission and the schools, that's with the sheriff's department and the schools.
It was, Sheriff's Department and schools. But the commission had recommended or asked that we provide them in all 3 schools. So the way it is now, the funding has to come through the sheriff's department, they'd be under his charge.
So the school department will not be funding any of that then, that'll be coming out of 101, or the sheriff's department's budget, which, the way I understand what you're saying is, we're going to have to make up the 86,000.
Yes,
What I thought,
part of it, because part of it was already in the sheriff's budget.
half of it.
Is that correct? So basically, we'll be taking over the part that the schools were funding. Is that correct?
Is this for all three schools?
Yes. Okay. Any further questions? Everybody understand what we're doing and why? If we want SROs, this is the way it needs to be done. It's that simple. Am I accurate in saying that? Okay. That's my understanding. All right, any other questions about that? Any other discussion? Seeing none. Next is BA 101-32. This is the insurance recovery, the damage to the fire hall gutters and roof during the ice storm back in February. This is where we received $1,250 from the insurance company for those repairs. Money in, put it back into county buildings and repairs to offset the cost of what it took to do that. Questions about it? Okay. Next is BA 101-33, medical exams. This is reimbursement of the autopsy expenses from Core Civic. I know we had a question about this last month. Had we received that, or when we would be receiving it? And this is a portion of that, $5,925. Any questions?
Does that clean up all,
No.
still more out?
I'm adjusting it as the autopsies are done. And I just billed them for 2 more this month.
I thought they was gonna start doing that themselves.
That I do not know. I'm not part of that conversation.
I thought that one of the meetings we had with the warden, they was gonna take over that and start paying it out of their own.
I don't,
I don't remember that.
not sure, I don't remember.
They're paying for it, aren't they?
Yeah, I know they are, but I thought it wasn't gonna have to go through the county anymore, they were just gonna do it.
I don't think so, but I'm not sure. I know they took over their own medical expenses, their own
Yeah.
staffing and things with their employees, but I don't remember anything about autopsy maybe. Where did that come up in the prison oversight?
Yeah. it came
Ms.
up.
Ford, your chairman, do you?
I don't remember, it may have.
We can look back through the minutes, but
Oh,
regardless, right now, this is money where they've paid us back once we've already done.
I was thinking Mr. Walton told us before he left that they was gonna start on their own instead of passing to the county.
He may have, Gary, but I don't remember.
Not sure.
It don't matter, I guess.
As long as they reimburse us, I don't care.
Yeah, any question on this? Okay. Next, BA 101-34. This is request 101 fund. This is where we received some money, Homeland Security grants. They want to use it in EMA, other equipment. Supposed to be used to fund training and training exercises, planning, some equipment that they're allowed to purchase with it. But this is where the Homeland Security grant came in. We were able to get it $8,414 for 2020. All right, next is cleanup entry. This is BA 101-35. This is total of $53,197 in various and sundry line items to try to not go over in particular line items, moving money around. You're gonna see quite a few in the next 2 months, I'm sure.
It's coming out of the sheriff's budget.
Biggest part of all of this, I think, is coming out of, the sheriff's budget out of 101.
That's going right back into the sheriff's, it's just moving line items.
It's just moving, it's strictly moving money from one line item to another, where it hasn't been spent and where it's needed. Any question on any of those items? All right. Next one is BA 101-36. This is request to amend the 101 general budget fund by debiting excess property taxes and transfers in of $6,000. This would be $26,000. This money is to be used to pay GNRC for a strategic plan. This will consist of a comprehensive growth plan, capital improvement plan. The total cost on this was $41,000. We received a $15,000 USDA discount on this. And the water department, since the capital improvement strategic plan can be used by them as well, is contributing $6,000 toward this, which leaves $20,000 to be funded by the county government. Instead of taking it out of fund balance, we're moving it from property taxes, which was, of course, over what you budgeted. So in essence, it's just moving it from something that's already in the budget.
What will this entail?
Well, the mayor explained it at length, I think during the steering committee. He sent out this, did you get this sheet, scope for the fee and developing strategic plans for Travis County? It explained it, the background, what it's for. I wish he were here to explain it. I'll do the best with it I can. A lot of your grants that you apply for.
Mr. Chairman, I'm
I'm
online.
Plan to show them that you're using this money in something that you've been planning to use it for, or that you have a need to use it for. It will be used for them as far as the material supplies, the workshops that they put on to ascertain these things. Their facilitators that are working on it to pay them. Any rentals, printing, publications, things of that nature. I think that we looked at, we had a couple of different RFQs went out on it, did we not? I think we talked to more than one, and GNRC was the one that came back with the best proposal for doing this. So that's, you know, with the $15,000 basically cost sharing that USDA has given us, and the $6,000 that the water department, that covers about half of what this would typically cost to have this done. I'm not sure that answered your question, but that's the best I could do with it. Mayor, are you where you could add anything to that?
Can you hear me?
Or did I cover it, you think, well enough?
Hang on just a second. Okay, Mr. Chairman, can you hear me now?
Did that answer your question?
My question's more along the lines of what we get out of this, what exactly we're at, capital improvements, where we need to go to plan in the future. I don't know if they can. I understand that side of what we're talking about. What is their scope, their look right? What are they trying to bring that to?
I think they will look at our debt and to see if there is things that we should look at or prioritize. They will look at anticipated capital needs. Are we gonna need to build a new school building? Are we gonna need to build a new jail building? Are we gonna be building things of that nature for as far as capital improvements is the things that they're gonna be looking at to try to help us prioritize those things and get us accurate estimates as to those. That's what a strategic plan is. It's just tries to, look at your needs and give you some idea of what you've got ahead of you. Biggest thing is, if you're gonna get any of these major grants and be able to qualify them, you need to have it.
That's the main thing I got out of what the mayor talked about. In order to get the grants, we gotta have a strategic plan, which we don't have. We've had some chicken scratch plans, but that's not a major plan.
I'm with that.
I think that's the biggest need, biggest reason for wanting to do it is that.
That was what I got out of his talk back at the other meeting.
That's my understanding. Amy, can you add any more to it, or is that?
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me? Wonder if I got the volume turned up.
It's one of those things that you have to lay the groundwork for some of this. And this is just laying the groundwork for hopefully something that'll come back in the future.
Understood.
We don't get one grant from it, it'll pay it back.
Okay, next one, BA 11101 FB. All right. This is to try to have the funds available to close out the streetscapes grant. We had a few months back said that we wanted to pave the entire area and not patch the street because water would get in between the patching and the pavement and it would break and you'd just have a big mess. So we voted to go ahead and bear the expense, to change order, to grind all of Main Street in that project area and repave and restripe the entire street. That's what this is. This is for the additional match and engineering inspections, blah, 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 basically on that plant, on that additional pavement. There are some other things that I guess you'd say that we are trying to get some expanded invoicing or more detailed invoicing. The way we've been invoiced did not necessarily reflect the two costs. They just lumped it all together. So we're wanting to try to break it out and to justify some of these extra costs. We do not feel like this will all be needed to close this out. At the wildest stretch of the imagination, this will be enough to close it out. And we wanted to go ahead and do this budget amendment so that it's in this year's budget so that we do not have to carry this project into next year's budget. We're trying to make sure that we've got enough funds already in the budget to close it out. Some, I don't know how much, will probably come back. They'll just go and roll into your fund balance at the end of the year. Did I miss anything?
Do you know how much this ended up costing, the whole project?
A total for the whole thing? $1 gazillion.
That's private approach.
I don't have that number at this moment, but I can get that to you.
But I think it ended up costing a whole lot more than what we first started.
I would agree with that statement.
That's a very, very, very accurate statement.
I know one thing is a lot of people ain't too happy with it.
I've had some that love it, and I've had some that hate it.
A bunch of hate it. Had one today tell me the biggest mess he'd ever seen.
Well, it's like anything you go to do. Somebody loves it, somebody hates it. I don't care what it is, but whatever, all the construction phase, all the planning,
It's
all
done
that
anyway.
is done. We're just trying to settle on this final building and get them paid so we can be through it.
Well, did they have part of the paving in there original plan,
Yes,
then they should pull whatever they had in it out.
And we're waiting for that.
That's right.
that's what we're waiting on.
And the other side of it, then anything more than that, then we owe for it. But if it was in their plan, then they'd need to pull out what they didn't do.
That's what we're waiting for.
If you paid them all that they're supposed to get,
No.
No, we're still talking.
then you got the chance to get it.
Yeah.
If you don't care, just get us that.
We're playing hardball with them right now. I mean, we had, I don't want to be critical, but I received the invoices, I went over the invoices, I looked at them, and I believe it was January, they were closing the project down, and they charged us for filing everything away, and then the next month, we got a bill for file retrieval, where they went back in and dug something out of the files. Well, if you hadn't filed them away, you wouldn't have to dig them back out. It's that kind of thing that has been maddening, trying to deal with, and of course, it's within the scope of the contract, so it's hard to always deal with these things. You deal with them the best you can, and we are trying to deal with them the best we can. That's all I can say. That's what this money's for. That's where we're at. Any more questions on it? BA 141-17, BEP bonus. This is request came from schools. This is money coming from the basic education program, and they need to put it into the appropriate line item of category. Is that correct, Mr. Trustee? Any questions about that? Okay. Go to the three that we added, BA 141-18. This is to amend the 141 school fund. This is contributions. This is money that came in from U Trust for summer learning camps. Money coming in, you might say on grant. This is where they're wanting to use it. Money in, money out. Just putting it in the right category. Any questions on it? Next is BA 141-19. This one is for $12,035. Same thing, this is a donation by SCORE for high-impact tutoring strategies during summer learning camp. This is where the money came in as a contribution, and the line items that it'll need to be spent in, so we're just moving it, bringing it in, and putting it in the proper category. Any questions on that? This thing cutting in and out is in my mind.
It's dropping.
It's dropping. It's dropping me some.
Closer.
I'll get a little closer, maybe that'll help. Okay. Any question on that? Okay. Next one, BA 141, 20 FB. This is for stadium renovations. This is for to replace the football bleachers with code compliant and ADA accessible and compliant bleachers. This is a project that we've been looking at, particularly in the education committee for some time now, and I know the school board has been high on their radar. They're wanting to take $856,000 from their fund balance, not our fund balance, their fund balance to fund this project. One reason we want to do it now is the cost increases on metal, particularly aluminum, is anticipated to rise a great bit in the near future, and want to go ahead and get started with this project. The school board has voted to do this. We feel like their fund balance is going to be in a better position than was anticipated, so they feel comfortable in being able to fund that. I will remind the body that this is their money, it's already in their budget, this is the way they're wanting to spend it. Any questions on it? Any questions? Okay. Since probably, I don't think, well, we'll need to do a roll call vote on that one, Monday night. We could go ahead and take all of these if we want to recommend them going to the full body, as one motion, unless there's somebody wants to pull one out. Ms. Clarity?
Make a motion to send them all forward.
I'll second.
Yeah, a motion and a second to send them forward to the full body. Any further discussion? Mr. Walsh, did you have anything?
No,
Okay. Okay. We do have a motion and a second to send these on to the full body Monday night. Any of these, I will say, any of these, if you have questions on, get with myself or Amy, or Dr. Satterfield this week, and we'll be glad to answer any questions that you have about it. And you do have a motion and a second to approve all of them, send them forward to the full body. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion does carry. Okay. Any other discussion from the members? Anybody on the committee have any questions? Come to our agenda, public comments. Anybody in the public like to ask a question, make a statement about what we had on our agenda tonight? Seeing none, have a motion to adjourn. What? Oh, I was gonna go over more on that. Okay, have a motion to adjourn. Let me hold it. Our budget hearings will be, I'll go over that the next, is anybody leaving that needs that information? Okay, we'll go over that when we go over in the next meeting. Okay. Right. All in favor? I'm sorry. Yes, sir.
I'm one of the, folks involved in the no parking proposition on First Street.
Yes, sir. That has nothing to do with our budget finance tonight. We'll take that up the next hour. Okay. Well, we want you to speak. It's just not appropriate time. Okay. Anything else? Have a motion to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. We will reconvene at 7 o'clock. We have about 8 minutes before our next meeting. Thank you, everyone.